welcome to my kitchen. And Rie, welcome to my kitchen.
Thank you for having me.
Rie and I went on an adventure to a peach farm.
I love peaches, and Andrew always wanted to make a video with farmers.
Fruit in the peak of its season is so good.
Nothing better than the peaches in the summer.
We had an opportunity to visit Masumoto Family Farm in Delray, California. We met with Nikiko and her family who run this amazing small organic peach farm.
My name is Nikiko Masumoto. I'm Yonsei, fourth generation Japanese American. And I say that because specifically in relationship to this place and our farm, I'm the fourth generation to get to touch and work the same soil.
Give us a little background on Masumoto Farm.
First 40 acres were purchased by my ji-chan, my grandfather, in 1948. We now have 80 acres. He bought a second plot of 40 acres in the late 60s. But that first 40, that was a real watershed moment for my family. 1948 was just 3 years after my family of Japanese Americans left the concentration camps that they were imprisoned in during World War II. And so my ji-chan served in the military and came back, and he decided he wanted to farm. He worked for 3 years to save just enough money to buy a really poor piece of land because that's all he could afford.
Do you know why your Oji-chan chose peaches?
He loved peaches. I mean, he would eat them every single day, peach preserves in the off-season, fresh peaches, and I think it just filled him with so much joy that he just had to grow it, almost like the peaches chose him.
You said you're now at 80 acres. How large is that relative to other peach farms?
Of our 80 acres, only about 60 are in production, so we have some open spaces. In other words, we're not working every single corner. And then of those about 60 acres, only 25 are in tree fruit, so nectarines, peaches, and apricots.
This whole area is suncrest then, right?
These 5 rows are suncrest.
Okay.
And the 2 rows up there are a nectarine that we already harvested. Our farm with 25 acres of stone fruit is very small. The largest stone fruit grower in Fresno County had over 9,000 acres of stone fruit. In the world of production ag, 25 acres of stone fruit is tiny.
What is more typical on your farm that you wouldn't see at larger stone fruit farms?
One of the biggest differences is the amount of face time we have with each tree. We pick each orchard many times, or in larger blocks, you might have a single variety that is a 40-acre block. We only have 25 acres in tree fruit, and of those 25 acres, we have about 12 varieties. So we have really tiny blocks. So what that means is we can manage them very precisely, almost to the extent that I remember individual trees and like, oh right, last year that tree had really big fruit, or last year that tree was struggling with size. And so with that memory, we can treat each tree a little differently. We're paying so much attention to individual pieces of fruit, individual fields that you just can't do on large scale.
Okay, you brought some peach jam.
Yes, I did.
When we left Masumoto Family Farm, they sent us home with crates and crates of peaches.
Yeah.
You ended up having too many that you could use fresh, right?
Yeah, so I made a separate video using the peaches. I got too many peaches, so it was getting too ripe. And sometimes when I buy produce from, grocery stores, fruits get rotten. Visiting her and hearing their story makes me feel like more responsible. I was constantly eating peaches because I have to finish 4 boxes of peaches. Jam is a great way of using ripe fruits.
So how did you make it?
So I used kind of like standard jam recipe and used vanilla beans and sugar. Oh. What do you think?
It's really nice.
I like the texture.
It's still a little bit chunky. Like you get a sense of the whole fruit inside.
Like texture completely changes.
I feel like actually with the jam, you can taste an aspect of the peach that you don't get when it's fresh. When you eat a fresh peach, you have the whole flavor of the peach. But with the jam, you no longer have the fresh taste, but by eliminating that, you taste more of that other taste, more like earthy fruit taste.
And I think making jam with fresh fruits is really good because you have to use a lot of the fruits.
Thank you for sharing your jam with me.
Of course.
Today we're gonna look at the suncrest in particular. Could you tell us a little bit more about that variety and its history here on the farm?
The suncrest is our oldest orchard on the farm, so the trees are really gnarly and have lots of different shapes and lots of different generations of branches within the same tree. That orchard was planted by my ji-chan and my dad. The variety itself used to be very popular, but with the increased mechanization of farming, it has fallen out of favor, partially because of the tip. When fruit is packed in a packing shed, most of the time there's a point at which the fruit has to roll, and so the tip breaks or gets bruised. And then the other two reasons, even at its ripest, it never gets super red. It's more yellow. And then suncrests are also really fuzzy, and some people have like an aversion to peach fuzz. For all those reasons, there's hardly any suncrest grown anymore. We are standing right now in the cathedral of all of our orchards. This is the Suncrest orchard. And I say a cathedral because there's a lot of memory imbued in the roots, in the variety itself that we get to harvest every year. As a peach itself, it is a yellow peach that has a really interesting balance of acid and sweetness. So it's not just one note. It's not just sweet. It also has kind of this dynamic dance of flavor. The texture it's very dense texture. And when it's ripe, it's really juicy. The orchard was planted in the 60s with my ji-chan and my dad, and because the suncrest variety fell out of favor, my father and our farm, we lost money on the suncrest, meaning we didn't just break even. We actually paid to farm. That year, the box that the fruit was packed into was worth more than the fruit itself. So someone advised him that year to dump the fruit, like literally compost a year's worth of labor and save the boxes for the next year.
Wow.
He couldn't do that. I mean, I don't know what farmer could do that because you're growing food and how can you just throw it away like that? So he realized like something had to change. So that's when my parents helped transition the farm to be organic, which helped open up a marketplace for people who were in search of sustainably grown fruit and produce that had definitive flavor, had a story, had something unique about it that made it special. That year, the winter after I was born, because the suncrest had done so poorly, my dad actually scheduled bulldozers to come and rip out the field. In the process of getting ready for that, he wrote this short essay that actually got picked up in the LA Times. It was called Epitaph for a Peach. He just wrote out of fury of being so sad to say goodbye to this variety that he grew up with, that we just loved eating. And so the essay got published, and miraculously, about a dozen people, complete strangers, wrote him handwritten letters. And they asked him, please, please don't destroy this orchard. And so my dad, literally the day the bulldozers came, with the letters in his hand, he stopped.
Oh, wow.
He stopped the bulldozer.
Wow.
That moment of kind of defiance of choosing to grow something, knowing that you're not sure how you're gonna financially make it work, but because you know it's so good. It's so good to the earth, it's so good to our bodies. That was a defining moment of the type of farm that I'm blessed to be part of and that I hope to continue.
How unique is it to have a peach farm with trees that are this old and with this specific of a variety? Like, do you find that in other farms typically?
People would say we're crazy. To have trees still in production that are over 50 years old is unheard of. Industry-wide, 10, 12 years max. and then they'll pull out the variety and plant a new
Yeah.
variety. It might have a more complete red color. It might be shaped in a different way that's conducive to a packing shed line that's mechanized.
Yeah.
So there's those kind of like industry reasons. Most farms don't do what we do in the winter, in the dormancy. We actually reshape each tree by hand. We pull new branches. We use rope to tie them and shape them kind of like sculpture. And so
Oh.
that means that there's multiple generations of wood that are producing fruit on the same tree.
Wow.
And that is unheard of in the industry. People don't do that. They prune, but they don't do the shaping work that we do.
Yeah. What is thinning?
In April, when the peaches are green and hard and about, maybe golf ball size, we'll move through each field and by hand remove probably around 70% of the fruit.
Really?
Yeah, and if you don't, that's what happens. The branch becomes overloaded. It's most like a lot of branches break because
Yeah.
the weight of the fruit is just too much. And the peaches the pit takes up most of its center and it just doesn't have a lot of the flesh
Oh, wow.
that we like to eat. Every branch is selected in pruning by hand. Like someone is selecting, I'm gonna keep this branch.
Really?
Then in spring, someone is selecting, I'm gonna keep this peach. And then at harvest, someone is hand selecting, okay, this one is ready, that one's not ready. So it's a lot of embodied knowledge.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hands-on work.
This is a mind-blowing fact to me. I assume that you have a peach tree, it grows a bunch of peaches, then you have peaches. I didn't think you have to get rid of peaches to have the peaches that you want.
And how do you tell when it's ready to pick?
Our farm workers are so amazing because they've really clued into two things. We look for texture, like the way it feels on the fingertips, and then we look for background color. Not necessarily the red, but you're looking for the color underneath the red, the hue of the yellow.
Wait, so you just pulled away that leaf and it was like all yellow under the leaf and then all red on the outside of it. What is happening there?
Yes, because the sun doesn't penetrate the leaf, so underneath the leaf it shows its kind of true color.
Yeah.
We call this blush, kind of like our cheeks during the summer, pick up more sunshine, and so that's why the color's different.
Akiko was explaining that they work with a lot of breweries in California to do seasonal special ales and ciders and beers using their stone fruit. And as a bonus, it's a great way to use some of their fruit that doesn't pass the visual test for being sold at market. Like maybe they have some cosmetic blemishes that prevent them from being sold otherwise. And so they're used in fermenting all these great drinks. This is Cellador Brewery, and this is their Blossom Rustic Wild Ale with Masumoto peaches.
What kind of peaches they use in this beer? It says all 10 Masumoto varieties of peaches, nectarines and apricots.
So this uses all of their fruit.
Wow. I think it's great because you cannot eat 10 different peaches at the same time, but you can drink it.
Exactly. So this has the Rose Diamond Nectarine, the Spring Lady Peach, the Gold Dust Peach, the Golden Sweet Apricot, the Flavor Crest Peach, Spring Bright Nectarine, Suncrest Peach, Summer Grand Nectarine, Le Grand Nectarine, and the Alberta Peach.
I'm excited.
Oh wow, the
Oh.
fragrance.
Oh yeah, it's almost like a cider, right?
Yeah, it's very fruity.
Kanpai.
Kanpai.
Oh,
Mmm,
it's like a,
sour.
yeah, I didn't taste any peach fruity like sweetness, but it's like almost like cider.
Very cidery. Oh wow, that's nice.
Delicious.
The fragrance is very fruity too. It's almost champagne-like.
Like a gentle bubble.
Yeah, very sweet but also dry at the same time.
And it's not too boozy. So if somebody who doesn't like beer that much, it doesn't have any those kind of beer aftertaste. It's not bitter.
No.
It's not hoppy. Naturally conditioned with local orange blossom honey.
There's some other taste I can't identify.
Isn't it honey?
It's really frustrating me. It kind of has like the way that an orange peel tastes.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's like a little bit bitter. Mm-hmm. It's so nice. I mean, the best flavors are hard to explain, I think. Can we pick some peaches now?
Yes. Do you feel ready? Do you feel
Yes.
like you have
I think
enough
so.
information?
I
Yeah.
can't wait.
Why don't you pick 2 peaches?
Yes.
Or more, you can pick more. But pick one that you think is as ripe as you can find, and then one that you think will be ready in a couple days. Because that's what we have to do as farmers. We have to pick as close to ripeness as possible, but that when it gets to you at a market, it'll be ready when you're there.
What are you holding there?
This is peak suncrest.
Okay.
It's almost too ripe to ship. The ripeness you can tell by 2 main factors. The first and probably the most telling is the background color. By removing the leaf or picking the fruit, you can see underneath the red. And it's so yellow, it's almost orange. Then the second way you can tell is if you ever so gently, the pads of your fingers, like just put a little bit of pressure on the peach, you can feel the peach. The lingo we use is that it has a give. So the reason why you want to be gentle is because if it is ripe and you squeeze too hard, you will leave a bruise.
Okay.
When I go to grocery store, I tend to choose like red or pink peaches, but now I learned you have to check yellowness.
If it's at a grocery store or farmer's market, turn it over to the stem side and look where the stem used to be. That will reveal its true color, because that part, the stem used to be right here, never gets sunlight.
Right.
So that's how you should be looking for ripeness, by color. Here's 2 peaches. At first glance, they look kind of similar, right? They both have the red blush.
Yeah.
They're both yellow, but then you flip them over and you can clearly see, this is where the stem was.
Yeah.
It's yellow, but it's a pale yellow. This is like just brilliant. I mean, it's almost iridescent. It's so ripe. So you can each have your own tree
Okay.
to wander around. Andrew, do you want this tree? Rie, do you want this tree?
Go ahead.
Sure, I'll take this tree.
Rie,
Hi.
you can work on this tree.
Okay.
So it's
Do you want a ladder? I can grab
one for now and one for in a couple days, like 3 days. Okay.
I think this will be ready in a couple days one. Because it has nice yellow, but it's still a little bit green. Maybe it's not ready.
It just fell off. I touched it and it came off. Yeah, I think this is actually my day 1. Rie, how's it going?
I think I have a couple good ones, but there's a lot of peaches on the tree. So I'm kind of
I'm scared because I don't want to waste a peach, you know?
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I need to choose.
It fell off. I wanted to pick in front of the camera, but it just fell.
It's very stressful.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Okay, it's this one. So this was the first one I saw on the tree. After doing a lap of the tree, I went back to it and picked it as my ready to eat. And this one is my ready in 2 to 3 days. And they both have very, I think, brilliant background yellow. And the stem area is also very good. This one is a touch paler though, which is why I'm giving it for my 2 to 3 day option.
I got 3.
What?
So I think this is ready to eat. The stem part is yellow. I think this is ready to ship. 2 to 3 days. It's still a little hard. I'm not confident. It's a little green.
Here is my 2 to 3 day out peach.
Excellent.
And this is mine. Might be a
Rie?
little too.
Excellent. Okay, so what I like about both of these peaches is they have clearly passed the threshold from green to yellow. We don't want to pick green fruit. Looking at the stem end, Andrew's is a slightly riper, which is more pleasant for eating, and we might be worried that it might get bruised in transit. So this is the dilemma. This is the dilemma between picking something that's like the utmost best thing right now versus projecting out. I would definitely be proud to ship both of these into the world. And this one, Rie's, you probably have a little bit more time that it is not as time bound as yours, Andrew.
Okay, so we both did well.
Yeah.
So let's share our ready-to-eat ripe peaches.
They're both lovely and yellow, bright yellow. By the feel, I would say again, Andrew's like slightly riper. There's a little bit more give, but again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm guessing this one is gonna be a little bit on the crunchy spectrum, and this one will be a little juicier.
Okay.
So again, it depends on what your purpose is.
Rie, I'm gonna eat my peach.
Cheers.
Wow, it's a great peach. It's softer than I expected.
Super excited. It's so good. I think flavor is so intense. It's like peach holds all like sunshine and water. Delicious and sweet and tart.
I think peaches and ice cream is the best combination of fresh and something prepared.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's our peach video. Thank you for watching. If there's a vegetable or fruit or other grown thing that we should investigate next time, please let us know.
Also, thanks to Nikiko and Masumoto Family Farm. It was such a great experience.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching.